some, want some, need some, need some, get some, get some.
You know, if you were going off to war, I would do the patriotic thing. Buy you a drink, invite you back to my place.
I don't know how we ever broke up. You're just so charming.
I got a business plan for a fleet of food trucks.
What you know about running a business?
A lot. I actually read books. You read like magazines like Guns and Ammo.
Callahan.
Go on.
Tell me, Slam Ben Daly's heading to Europe. And fleeing the scene.
I'll find him.
Hello and welcome to the Matt's Movie Reviews podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Pejkovic, and this is episode number 250. Releasing October 4 in select theatres across the US, as well as on demand and digital, is Semper Fi, a stirring drama that stars Jai Courtney and Nick Wolf as brothers who find their bond and their loyalty tested when one is sent to jail and the other swears to break him out. A film about sacrifice and brotherhood, Semper Fi is a beautifully written and portrayed film, and I'm glad to say joining me now is the film's writer and producer, Sean Mullin. Sean, thank you very much for joining me on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
So, first thing I wanted to say to you, Sean, was thank you for your service. I don't know if people know your background, but you've had such a remarkable life. Captain in New York General Guard, you were a first responder during September 11. During that time as well, you were also doing stand-up comedy, and that led to a transition to filmmaking. And not to get too far into the weeds, but how did that last transition into filmmaking happen for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was, I think maybe some people are shocked when they find out I was in the military and down at Ground Zero, and then yet doing stand-up comedy and writing really bad screenplays at night, trying to be a creative person outside of my military commitments. But yeah, for me it came kind of naturally. I was always a storyteller, from childhood growing up, and I always really enjoyed it. I never thought about it as a career. I just thought about it more as a hobby or a passion. And after everything that happened with the attacks of September 11th, I was downtown. I was a first responder. I was the officer in charge of the National Guard soldiers down there, on and off, for about 9 months. And I decided, no better time than the present after seeing everything that happened down there than to pursue your dreams. So I made the leap, and I applied to graduate school at Columbia University, right there in Manhattan, and I was accepted to the MFA program, and that really changed my life. I mean, getting my MFA in film directing at Columbia was just one of the greatest experiences of my life. Next to playing rugby at West Point, I'd say it was the number one. Yeah.
You played rugby as well. Are we talking rugby union or rugby league?
Union. I was a fullback at West Point for 4 years there, and so I'm a big rugby guy. World Cup's going on now, actually, trying to catch some.
Very true, very true. So yourself as a filmmaker and a creator, you did a bunch of short films. Your debut film as a director was Sam in the Mirror, came out a few years ago. And the interesting thing about that film, that compared to what Semper Fi had, is that at that time you didn't want to create a movie about a soldier. And the way I heard you describe it, a soldier with problems. And the character of Callahan, who Jai Courtney has in Semper Fi, is different to that. Were you ready to go into that part of a soldier's life with this project as compared to the first one?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I'm sorry. Yeah, so with the Mirror and Sam, it was the hook of that movie was essentially the soldier comes back from war, he's fine, but the country's lost its mind. Whereas, this film, when Jai Courtney's character comes back, he's experienced a real kind of monumental shift maybe in his worldview after coming back from war. He was a very kind of black and white guy, saw the world one way before he goes off to war as a small town cop, and after what he sees over there, he realizes actually the world might be a little more gray than black and white. And so it's his own reconciliation with that new set of circumstances in his life that really force him to face some truths that he needs to address.
And is that any autobiographical in any way in regards to how you self might have transitioned in your own worldview, considering your own life experiences?
No, it's interesting you say that. I hadn't really thought of it, but no, I can't say because I never served over. I mean, I was overseas in Germany, but that was peacetime. That was 97, 98, 99. It was late 90s, so I was peacetime when I was over in Germany. So, but I was never in Iraq or Afghanistan. I never saw combat overseas, so I wouldn't be able to put myself in that category. But a lot of my friends from West Point did serve overseas, and I got to hear about their experiences, and I did my best to distill those into a character that comes across as believable in Jai's character.
This film is directed by Henry Alex Rubin. A lot of people know him from his work on Murderball and a bunch of other great films as well. When it came to this project, is this a story that you developed yourself and then Henry came on board, or was it the other way around?
It was actually the other way around. So Henry was nominated. This project's been around for a while. It's been definitely a passion project for both of us. But Henry was nominated for an Oscar for Murderball, which is an incredible documentary. It's worth your time if people out there haven't seen it. But he, after that experience of Murderball, while filming Murderball, he spent some time at Walter Reed Army Medical Hospital in Washington, D.C., where a lot of wounded veterans were at, and he spent months there talking to these veterans, and it's like the little end of the film of Murderball, but he fell in love with these veterans, really, and he came up with the initial concept of a bunch of Marine reservists kind of going off to war and coming home and dealing with the younger brother of the lead character in jail. So it was his initial conceit, but he wanted to, being a documentarian, he didn't feel he had the authority, maybe necessarily, at least from the military point of view, to write it, and he also felt comfortable. He wanted to team up with a co-writer, so he explicitly went out to find a co-writer who had served in the military, and we were fortunate enough to have been put together. He had done this undergraduate degree in film at Columbia University, so we got in touch through Columbia. I was still in grad school at the time. This is the summer of 2005, by the way, so It's been 14 years in development. So, I tell my 12-year-old daughter all the time this film was older than her. But it's been a long time coming. But yeah, we connected in summer of 2005, and we hit it off, and we got to writing, and it kind of came together as films tend to do, especially independent films about subject matter that's not based on cartoon characters or comic books. Things that are about real people take some time to get made, and so we just kind of kept at it, and it kind of came together and kind of fell apart at different times over the years, and then we finally, a couple of years ago, were able to get all the magic pieces together with just an incredible cast and great producing partners with David Lancaster and Karina Miller, and get the money raised and get it shot and out into the world. And Lionsgate now, we're very fortunate that they're distributing it. So it's been a really a wonderful ending to a very long labor of love.
It's really interesting, that time period, because during that time you yourself are developing your skills as a filmmaker and a writer. If you ever look back in your first drafts on Semper Fi, do you see a totally different artist as compared to what you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. I've grown a tremendous amount. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a point of pride that this was the first screenplay I was ever approached to write, and it actually ended up getting made and is getting released. So there's a point of pride there. But I have over 100 drafts of this screenplay over 14 years in my hard drive. So not everyone is a page one rewrite, but there's tweaks and to each one, and the script, definitely did evolve. I mean, the characters remain the same, but the script itself did evolve, and I like to think it's gotten a lot better over these years. I hope so, but I've grown into my own as a writer-director. I'm directing a documentary right now, actually writing and directing a feature-length documentary about a famous American baseball player named Yogi Berra, who was a New York Yankee. So I'm doing that now, and I've also been hired to write a film that has not been announced about a famous Army general, so I'm writing that, and then I'll be directing my next feature, a narrative feature, hopefully in the spring. So yeah, my career has finally, it takes time. It takes a while to get your career off the ground in this business, but it's been a really nice bookend, I guess you could call it, this Semper Fi experience.
The film's cast, I mentioned before, Jai Courtney, Nat Wolff, you got Finn Wittrock, Boak Knapp, Arturo Castro. I think what really helps with this film that brings across the themes is the camaraderie between these actors. Do you know Sean, whether your cast hung out beforehand, did stuff together as a unit to try to really get that camaraderie before filming began?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, not only am I a co-writer, but I'm a co-producer. I'm on the film, so I'm kind of like the number 3, I guess, kind of producer, the creative producer, I guess you could call me, on the film. So I was there for location scouting. I was there for prep, and I was there for most of the shoot as well. A majority of it, maybe 2/3 of the shoot, I was actually on set. So our cast is really just, an incredible group of artists, and they were so great together. They just bonded instantly, and they're still super close. They all support each other, and they're all gone off to do great things since we filmed this just a year and a half ago. So it's been exciting to see, and they absolutely bonded, on set and off.
And dare I say, they are a young cast as well, but I think so far they've delivered their best performances of their career so far, and I think that's a testament to the screenplay that you put forward. Final question here. What I think really comes across in this movie is that it is a love story of sorts. It's a movie about brotherhood, and I think it really places the importance of fraternity, a fraternity based on good values, that I think is really needed these days, especially. There are so many elements that can influence young men in particular, lead them down different types of roads. And I think a fraternity like the one displayed in your movie is an essential thing these days. Do you agree with that opinion as well, Sean?
I do, absolutely. I think it's important. I think the way men express love to one another in a platonic way is something that, every culture, I think, grapples with differently. And then some cultures are really good about it. Others not so much. But I can tell you in the military, I mean, to this very day, the fact that I've got over a dozen friends who would, take a bullet for me. I mean, listen, I've met wealthy men, I've met powerful men, but I haven't met anybody who's more fortunate than someone like me who's got a dozen brothers who have their back no matter what. So that's definitely, that portion of it was absolutely inspired from my own true life. I'm still super close with my rugby buddies from West Point, and not just my roommates, my people I was served in. When you serve in the military, there's a bond that forms. That it's a chemical bond. It's a real thing. When they've done studies, when humans are put under duress with other people, there's an instant bond that's formed for life. One of my favorite studies was a study they did about people trapped in elevators. If you get trapped in an elevator with somebody for, let's say, 24 hours, and that fear, I don't know. There's a bond that forms when people are put under duress together, and so that's why in the military that's extremely heightened, and that's really something we were trying to uncover with a film like this.
So for everyone listening out there, October 4 in select cinemas across the US, as well on demand in digital, Semper Fi. It's a remarkable film. And Sean, you yourself are a remarkable man. Once again, thank you very much for your service. And look, I really look forward to seeing what you're doing with your future work. I know you have another documentary called The Kings of Beer as well, that's out now, which I really look forward to trying to track down and watching as well. So hopefully we can talk in the future maybe about that film or other future projects.
Yeah, reach on out. Yeah, it's available now on Amazon and iTunes. It's called Kings of Beer, and it's fascinating. It's a really great kind of character study about some of the world's most elite brewmasters and how they're not the people you probably assume they were. So yeah, and I'll be doing a Ground Zero movie one of these days too about my experiences down there once I'm able to kind of sort of get that script out of me.
Sean Mullin, thank you very much for joining me. I know you've got a busy day, so thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thank you. Take care.